She woke up to silk sheets and a ceiling so high it made her dizzy. For a moment, Nicole Robinson thought she was dreaming. Then she felt the arm around her waist. Warm. Solid. Possessive. Her breath caught. She turned slowly, too slowly, and there he was. Alexander Cross. The billionaire CEO whose face had been on magazine covers she couldn't afford to buy. The man whose name made stock markets tremble. The man every woman in the room had been watching last night. And Nicole Robinson was in his arms. Her mind scrambled, piecing together fragments of the night before. The charity gala. The champagne she shouldn't have accepted. The balcony conversation that felt too real. His voice low, steady, asking her name like it mattered. She sat up abruptly, clutching the sheet to her chest. "Oh God," she whispered. Alexander stirred, but didn't wake. Even asleep, he looked untouchable. Controlled. Like a man who never lost anything he cared about. Panic bloomed in her chest. How did I get here? And, more importantly, why wasn't he surprised? Before the story goes any further, if you love slow-burn billionaire romances with jaw-dropping twists and earned fairy tale endings, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. You don't want to miss how this ends. Now, let's continue. Nicole slid out of bed, her feet sinking into a plush white carpet that probably cost more than her monthly rent. She spotted her dress neatly folded on a chair. Neatly. That was the first red flag. She dressed quickly, heart pounding, and reached for the door. "Leaving already?" His voice was calm. Awake. Unrushed. She froze. Alexander Cross was sitting up now, dark eyes focused on her like he'd been watching her every move. I'm sorry," Nicole blurted. "I don't know what happened. This was a mistake." He studied her for a long moment. Not angry. Not amused. Just measuring. "Mistake," he repeated. "Yes. I don't do this. I don't even drink like that." Her voice shook. "I shouldn't be here." "No," he said quietly. "You're exactly where you're supposed to be." Her stomach dropped. That's not comforting. A corner of his mouth twitched. "It's honest." She crossed her arms, trying to look braver than she felt. "Look, Mr. Cross." "Alexander." "No," Nicole said quickly. "I think Mr. Cross keeps things clearer." He smiled at that. Not a warm smile. A dangerous one. "As you wish," he said. "Sit down." "I should go." "You can," he replied. "After we talk." "We have nothing to talk about." He swung his legs over the bed, standing now. Taller than she expected. Closer than she liked. "We spent the night together," he said evenly. "That earns at least 5 minutes of honesty." Her throat tightened. "Did we?" "Yes." The word hit her like a wave. "But," he continued, "you were sober enough to consent. You asked me to stay. And you knew exactly who I was." That didn't make her feel better. Nicole sank onto the edge of the chair, hands trembling. "This can't happen again." "It won't," he said. "Unless you agree to it." She looked up sharply. "Agree to what?" He reached for a folder on the nightstand and handed it to her. A contract. She stared at it like it might explode. "You're joking." "I don't joke about my life," Alexander said. "Or my reputation." She flipped it open, eyes scanning words she barely understood. Public appearances. Temporary arrangement. Discretion clause. Compensation. A lot of compensation. Her laugh came out sharp and disbelieving. "You want to pay me to pretend to be your girlfriend?" "I want to protect my company," he corrected. "And you're convenient." That stung more than she expected. "Convenient," she repeated. "Yes." She stood up. "No. Absolutely not." He didn't stop her. Didn't raise his voice. "You're behind on rent," he said calmly. She froze. "You have student loans you stopped paying 6 months ago. Your mother's medical bills are overdue. And your job at the design firm is hanging by a thread." She turned slowly. "How do you know that?" "Because I don't wake up next to strangers," he said. "I wake up next to variables." Anger flared. "You investigated me?" "I verified you," he replied. "There's a difference." She shook her head, tears burning. "This is insane." Maybe, he said. But it's also an opportunity. For who? For both of us. Nicole looked at the city beyond the window. So high it felt unreal. What happens when this ends? She asked quietly. His answer came too fast. It ends clean. She didn't know then how much that sentence would cost them both. She left without signing. Alexander watched her go, jaw tight. Because for the first time in years, the woman walking away from him wasn't expendable. And that terrified him. Nicole Robinson didn't sleep that night. She lay on her narrow bed, staring at a cracked ceiling she'd memorized years ago, replaying the morning over and over. Silk sheets. City views. A contract that felt heavier than the building she lived in. By morning, her phone was vibrating nonstop. Unknown number after unknown number. She ignored them until she saw the headline. Billionaire CEO Alexander Cross spotted with mystery woman at charity gala. Her stomach dropped. She opened the article with shaking hands. Blurry photos. A shadowy balcony. Her profile caught mid-laugh. His hand on the small of her back. The comments were already brutal. Who is she? Another gold digger. She won't last a week. Nicole tossed the phone onto the bed and pressed her palms to her eyes. This was exactly what she'd tried to avoid. Her doorbell rang. She froze. It rang again, sharp, impatient. When she opened the door, a man in a tailored suit stood there, holding a slim envelope. Nicole Robinson, he asked. Yes, you've been served. The envelope felt unreal in her hands. Legal letterhead. Heavy paper. She didn't need to open it to know who it was from. Alexander Cross didn't chase people. He closed doors. By noon, her boss called her into the office. Well, her boss said, arms crossed, eyes flicking to the computer screen behind her. You're famous. Nicole swallowed. I didn't want this. That's not the point, her boss replied. Clients don't like distractions. And right now, you're one. I can explain. I'm sure you can, her boss said gently. But I can't afford the attention. By the time Nicole stepped back onto the street, she no longer had a job. She laughed once. A thin, hysterical sound. This can't be real, she whispered. Her phone rang again. This time, she answered. Nicole, Alexander's voice said calmly, as if he hadn't just detonated her life. You should come see me. I told you no, she snapped. And now my life is falling apart. Silence. Then I warned you. That wasn't a warning. That was a threat. No, he said. This is. An address pinged her phone. She hung up, but an hour later, she was standing in front of the same glass tower she'd fled that morning. The lobby recognized her now. That terrified her more than anything. Alexander was waiting in his office, jacket off, sleeves rolled, the city burning gold behind him. You orchestrated this, Nicole said the moment she stepped in. Yes. No denial. No apology. You leaked the story. I controlled it, he corrected. There's a difference. You destroyed my job. I saved your reputation, he said. It could have been worse. Her hands shook. You think this is saving me? I think, Alexander said quietly, you're standing exactly where I said you'd end up. She slammed the contract onto his desk. You planned this. I anticipated resistance, he replied. And consequences. She laughed bitterly. So this is it? I sign, or you keep ruining my life. No, he said. You sign, and your life changes. He slid a tablet toward her. On it, her mother's medical account. Paid. In full. Nicole stared. You had no right. I had every right, he said. Your mother is sick. You don't get to buy my compliance. I'm not buying you, Alexander said. I'm offering protection. From you. He met her gaze. From the world. She hated that part of her wanted to believe him. She hated it even more that he was right. Outside, the media waited. Inside, the walls were closing in. If I do this, Nicole said slowly, there are rules. His brow lifted slightly. I'm listening. No touching unless we're in public, she said. No controlling my life. And this ends on my terms. Alexander smiled faintly. You'll find I don't agree to things I can't control. She signed anyway. Because fairy tales never begin with castles. They begin with desperation. Their first public appearance broke the internet. Nicole stepped out of the car, cameras flashing, Alexander's hand firm but respectful at her back. "Smile," he murmured. "They're already writing your story." She leaned in, voice low. "Then listen carefully. I'm not your trophy." He looked down at her, something unreadable in his eyes. "Neither am I." Inside, the ballroom buzzed. Whispers followed her everywhere. "She's prettier than I expected. She won't last. Give it a month." Nicole played her role perfectly. But later that night, alone on the terrace, she overheard two executives speaking in hushed tones. "She's not the one said. The trust documents don't match." "Then why is Cross protecting her?" "Because he thinks she's harmless." Nicole's heart skipped. "Trust documents?" She turned back just as Alexander appeared behind her. "You shouldn't wonder," he said quietly. "Why?" she asked. "Afraid I'll hear something?" His jaw tightened. "Afraid you'll learn something." She faced him. "What am I to you, really?" For a moment, the billionaire CEO looked like a man carrying too many secrets. "A complication," he said finally. Nicole nodded. She didn't know yet that she was far more than that. She was a reckoning. Nicole Robinson learned quickly how lonely luxury could be. The penthouse Alexander moved her into a stunning floor-to-ceiling windows, marble counters, silence so deep it rang in her ears. Everything was provided. Clothes. Security. A schedule curated by people who never asked what she wanted. At night, she stood by the windows and wondered how a place so beautiful could feel like a cage. Alexander was rarely home. When he was distant. Polite. Controlled. He played the role perfectly in public, hand at her waist, quiet smiles, whispered words meant only for cameras. But in private, there was space between them. Intentional space. "You don't have to pretend here," Nicole said one evening as he loosened his tie. "I'm not pretending," he replied. "That's worse." He paused, studying her. "You wanted boundaries. I wanted honesty." He gave a thin smile. Those two don't always coexist. She hated that he was right. The media loved her. They called her the girl who softened the billionaire. Fashion blogs dissected her outfits. Business commentators speculated endlessly about her influence. Nicole read none of it. What she did read were the documents she found by accident. It started with a locked drawer. Alexander had left his office door open one afternoon, distracted by a call. Nicole hadn't meant to snoop. She'd only been looking for a charger. The drawer wasn't locked properly. Inside were old files. Legal correspondence. Trust agreements. Her name. She frowned, pulling the file out. Nicole Robinson. Her pulse quickened as she flipped through pages she didn't understand, but one phrase repeated over and over. Controlling interest. She sank into the chair. This had to be a mistake. That night, she confronted him. "You lied to me," Nicole said, placing the file on the table between them. Alexander stopped mid-step. "Where did you get that?" "So it's real," she whispered. "I own part of your company." He exhaled slowly. "Not part." Her stomach dropped. "How much?" she asked. "Enough," he said, "to bring everything down if mishandled." The room felt smaller. "Why?" Her voice shook. "Why me?" Alexander didn't answer immediately. "Years ago," he said finally, "your father saved this company." Nicole stared at him. "My father was a schoolteacher." "He was also an early investor," Alexander replied. "And the only one who didn't pull out when the company was collapsing." "That doesn't make sense." "He died before he could see what it became," Alexander said. "And he made me promise something." Nicole swallowed. "What?" "That if I ever lost my way, I would return the company to someone clean." Silence stretched between them. "So you chose me?" she asked softly. "I chose the promise," he said. "You were part of it." She laughed bitterly. "So I was never convenient. I was insurance." "Yes." The honesty hurt more than the lie. "You used me." "I protected you," he countered. "By controlling my life? By keeping you alive in a world that destroys people like you." She stood. "People like me?" Good people, he said quietly. That stopped her. You don't get to decide that, she said. And you don't get to decide my future. Alexander watched her, something like regret flickering across his face. You already are deciding it, he said. You just don't know how yet. The board meeting was supposed to be routine. Nicole sat quietly beside Alexander, hands folded, heart pounding as men twice her age debated numbers that made her dizzy. Then she saw it. A document slid across the table. Her name. She leaned forward. What is that? The room froze. Alexander's jaw tightened. That, said one board member, smiling thinly, is where this gets interesting. Nicole read the page. A motion to remove Alexander Cross as CEO. Using her shares. You planned this, she said, looking around the table. We planned for the future, the man replied. And you're the key. Nicole turned to Alexander. You knew. Yes. And you said nothing? I wanted you to choose, he said. Not be pushed. She stood slowly. Every eye in the room followed her. You all seem very confident, Nicole said calmly. About what I'll do. The man smiled. You're not a businesswoman. No, she agreed. I'm not. She placed the document back on the table. But I know when I'm being manipulated. She looked at Alexander. And I know when someone is afraid. Gasps rippled through the room. I won't sign, Nicole said. Not today. She walked out. Alexander followed her into the hall. You just made enemies, he said. I already had one, she replied. He stopped. That's not fair. Neither was lying to me. Silence. Then, quietly, I'm trying to fix things. By breaking me? No, he said. By making sure you survive me. She looked at him then, not as a billionaire, not as a CEO. As a man terrified of his own legacy. I don't want your empire, Nicole said softly. I want my life. And if you can't have one without the other, he asked. She didn't answer. Because for the first time, Nicole realized the truth. She wasn't trapped in Alexander's world. She was standing at the center of it. The fallout was immediate. By morning, every financial network was running the same headline. Power struggle inside Cross Global, CEO's girlfriend holds the deciding vote. Nicole Robinson stopped breathing when she saw it. Her phone rang nonstop. Messages poured in from numbers she didn't recognize. Analysts wanted statements. Influencers wanted interviews. Strangers wanted explanations she didn't owe them. Alexander stood across the room, jacket on, expression unreadable. This is my fault, he said calmly. Nicole laughed once. You think. They moved faster than I anticipated. You anticipated this? She snapped. You anticipated turning me into a weapon? He met her gaze. I anticipated losing. That stopped her. What? Alexander exhaled slowly, as if admitting it out loud cost him something. The board has been planning this for months. I've been fighting alone. And you thought throwing me in the middle was protection? I thought, he said quietly, that if it came down to it, I'd rather lose everything than let them destroy you. Her anger wavered. Just slightly. You don't get credit for that, she said. You don't get to burn me and call it shielding. I know. That was worse than an argument. The first hearing was brutal. Nicole sat in a room full of men who spoke about her like she wasn't there. She lacks experience. She's emotionally compromised. She's being manipulated. Nicole leaned forward. By whom? The room fell silent. I didn't ask to be here, she continued. But I won't be spoken about like I'm furniture. One man smiled condescendingly. This is corporate governance, Miss Robinson. And I'm governance, she replied evenly. By your own paperwork. Alexander watched her then, really watched her. Not as leverage. As power. That night, the penthouse felt colder. Nicole packed a bag. Alexander appeared in the doorway. You're leaving. Yes. Where will you go? Somewhere that's mine. You're not safe. She zipped the bag. Neither are you. You don't understand what they'll do, he said. They'll tear you apart. She looked at him, eyes shining. You already did. Silence pressed between them. I never meant to hurt you, Alexander said. I know, Nicole replied. That doesn't change the outcome. He stepped closer. This isn't over. She slung the bag over her shoulder. For us? It is. When she walked out, Alexander didn't follow. For the first time in his life, power couldn't buy the one thing he wanted to stop. Nicole disappeared. Not from the media, but from him. She stayed in a small apartment across the city, one she chose herself. No doorman. No cameras. No rules written in legal language. She hired a lawyer. Then another. She learned. Fast. At night, she replayed every conversation with Alexander, every look that lingered too long, every moment that felt real and terrifying. She hated that she missed him. She hated that she trusted him. And she hated that part of her still believed he never intended to survive this. The second twist hit 3 weeks later. A sealed file surfaced. One Nicole had never seen. It was sent anonymously to her lawyer. Inside were medical reports. Terminal diagnosis. Months old. Nicole's hands shook as she read. Alexander Cross had been dying. She drove to his office without thinking. Security tried to stop her. She didn't care. She burst into his office. "You're sick," she said, breathless. Alexander looked up slowly. "I was hoping you wouldn't find out like this." "You were planning to step down," she whispered. "To give everything to me." "Yes." "So the board wasn't the enemy," she said, voice breaking. "You were leaving anyway." "I wanted it clean," he said. "I wanted you untouched by what I've done." Tears burned her eyes. "You don't get to decide how I love. I didn't want you trapped with a dying man." She stepped closer. "You don't get to decide that either." For the first time, Alexander looked afraid. Not of death. Of her choice. The final hearing was scheduled. The board pushed harder. The media sharpened their knives. Nicole stood at the podium, heart racing, and spoke. "I didn't ask for power," she said. "But I won't hand it to people who see humans as collateral." She paused. "And I won't let a man disappear quietly just because he thinks he deserves it." Gasps rippled through the room. Alexander closed his eyes. Nicole finished, "I choose transparency. I choose reform. And I choose to stand." The vote passed. Alexander was removed. The board was dismantled. Nicole Robinson became interim chair. And the world changed its tone overnight. Months later, Alexander showed up at her door. No suit. No entourage. Just a man. "I have nothing," he said. She studied him, then stepped aside. "Good," she said softly. "Now we can begin." Alexander Cross stayed standing in the doorway for a long moment, as if he expected Nicole Robinson to change her mind. She didn't. The apartment was small. Quiet. Real. Sunlight spilled across hardwood floors that creaked when he stepped inside. "This is where you live now?" he asked softly. "For now," Nicole replied. "It's enough." He nodded, looking around like a man seeing life without armor for the first time. "I forgot what enough feels like." She gestured to the couch. "Sit." He did. Carefully. Like he didn't want to break the moment. "I'm not here to ask for anything," Alexander said. "I just wanted to see you. To know you're okay." Nicole leaned against the counter, arms folded. "You're not dying anymore." He gave a faint smile. "No. Treatment worked. Barely. But I'm still here." "That must be hard for you," she said. He looked up surprised. She continued, "You spent so long planning to disappear that you forgot how to stay." Something in his expression cracked. "You were never supposed to carry this," he said. "Any of it." "But I did," Nicole replied. "And I didn't break." "No," he said. "You didn't." The world adjusted slowly. Nicole took control of the company, not as a figurehead, not as a puppet, but as a force that demanded accountability. Executives resigned. Policies changed. Quiet settlements were replaced with public reckoning. People stopped calling her the billionaire's girlfriend. They called her Chairwoman Robinson. Alexander watched from a distance. Not interfering. Not hovering. Learning. They met occasionally. Coffee. Long walks. Conversations without cameras. "I don't know who I am without power," he admitted once. Nicole looked at him. "Then it's time you find out." One evening, months later, Alexander asked her to dinner. Not a restaurant. Not a gala. A small place on a side street, where the waiter knew everyone's name. Nicole smiled when she realized it. "You're learning." He chuckled softly. "I'm trying." They talked for hours. About childhood. About regret. About the version of themselves they were afraid to become. When the check came, Alexander hesitated, then let Nicole take it. That mattered more than he knew. Outside, he stopped her. "I need to ask you something," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "You're nervous." "Yes," he admitted. "And that's new." He took a breath. "If I had nothing," Alexander said slowly, "no empire, no influence, would you still choose me?" Nicole didn't answer right away. She stepped closer. "I already did," she said. "When I let you walk back into my life without fear." His eyes filled, just slightly. The announcement came quietly. Nicole stepped down from interim chair once the company stabilized, appointing a board built on transparency, not loyalty. She walked away with her integrity intact. Alexander sold most of his shares. They left the city together, not in secrecy, not in scandal. Just together. The house they bought was modest. Ocean-facing. Windy. Alive. Nicole woke one morning to sunlight and the sound of waves. Alexander was beside her, not holding her, not claiming her. Just present. She smiled. She hadn't woken up in a billionaire's arms. She had woken up in the arms of a man who chose her without power. And that changed her life forever. If this story moved you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us, do you believe love should come with power or without it? Your support keeps stories like this alive. Until next time, this is Soul Storyverse TV.